Welcome to the Agent 251 podcast, the real estate show that looks deep into the work and culture at JWRE, Jason Will Real Estate, in Mobile and Baldwin counties. Jason, Agent 251, investigates and spills the beans on his case closing clues and industry secrets for motivating agents while educating buyers and sellers.
Welcome to the Agent 251 podcast. I'm your host, Jason Will. I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Diana Will.
Hello.
And our guest this morning is Kendall Wahlert.
Hello.
Okay, this is part 2 of the Kendall Wahlert interview. Part 1, we were talking specifically to agents. So on this second half, I want to talk right to sellers. So 80-20 rule applies in all aspects of life. So we know that 20% of the listing inventory out there is selling and 80% sits. So 20% sells, 80% sits. You walk into a listing, Kendall, how do you know whether it's in the 80 or 20%? How do you know where it falls in that spectrum?
That's a very good question. I think if the seller is willing to listen to your advice when it comes to staging the home, getting it prepared for pictures, the reduction plan, if they're on board, you're going to sell it.
That goes back to like agents. Like if an agent's coachable, like if a seller's coachable, some of the problems I see that consistently plague the seller side of the business are the property owners think they know more than the agent. They're trying to use their house as a bank. So I'm gonna cash flow this. But they don't understand is the seller does not set the market. I mean, we interpret the market, but we don't set it. I mean, if we set it, we would be millionaires.
The buyers set the market.
Yeah, the buyers set the market. So Diana Will was one of our top buyer's agents on our team for a while. And so I love bringing her on appointments because she heard the gripes of the buyers. She knew what they would pick on first. And so she could, go right to the sellers like, here's exactly what my buyer is going to think about this green carpet, about the odor, about your pink princess bedroom. They're going to pick on this. They're going to, while I'm fumbling with the lockbox, they're going to be looking up at the light and noticing the bugs in it and going, well, if they don't clean out the light fixture on the front porch, what else are they cleaning? Are they cleaning the AC air filter? What else is going wrong?
My favorite's when you're sitting at the door and you look up and there's wasp nests everywhere.
Yeah. I've gotten stung in the face by a wasp because and it was, my whole face swelled up. So, all right. We know that the majority of sellers out there are craving honesty. So it is part of our job to deliver honest feedback on whether their home looks good, feels good, smells good, priced right. So what is your approach when you go into a listing appointment? How do you get them to listen to you?
Well, I'm very direct, so I just kind of just tell them my advice. If you're scared to tell them your advice, though, you can ask, do you want me to be honest with you, or can I have your permission to give you honest feedback? But they need that honest feedback. I really don't ask. I just give it to them because it's true.
It is true.
In fact, one person had told me I came off very strong because I just, told them that, they appreciate it. I was at a listing appointment last week and they have 4 dogs. And I said, I just need to tell you, I don't smell any dogs. And she was like, oh my gosh, I so wanted to ask you, but I didn't know how to ask. And I knew that because she had animals, that was going to be an important question, internally to her. Mm-hmm. So, there's no dog smell. So anyways, she has moved out of that house. But, I think just people need to be prepared. I was on a listing appointment yesterday, and this house was priced at $850,000. I told them they need to come down to $425,000.
Wow. How did that conversation go?
I asked her how she came up with that price, and she just said, well, just what I need to get out of it. And I was like, okay, well, do you have comps to support it? Because I can't find any.
Okay, so there's a prime example of a seller using their house as a bank.
And an agent allowing it to happen.
Right.
She said her agent disappeared after he listed it. I'm like, that's because it was overpriced.
Yeah, how often do we hear
By
that?
200%.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. That's one of the things that I like to take pride in our team and our approach to everything because we're research-based, and that's just as simple as asking a seller, hey, were your expectations met? Why or why not? The reason agents leave a brokerage is because expectations were not met. The reason sellers fire an agent or don't renew after the contract expires is because expectations were not met. That's right. If you're not asking them what their expectations are, you don't know.
You won't meet them.
Yeah, you have no idea. So how did that end up going after you delivered the honest? How did they take that?
We're signing the listing docs on Monday, and Haley's doing photos Monday.
Wow. But if you had said, well, hey, just give me just give me the listing. Maybe we'll do a $15,000 or $20,000 reduction. Nobody wins. The seller's not going to sell. You're not going to make any money. Your listing's going to sit on the market forever. People are going to go, gosh, Kendall, all the listings she takes, they never sell. Her signs just sit there.
It's a waste of marketing money, and I just don't really want to waste anybody's time, my time, their time. And I just told her my goal is to get it sold. It's not to just let it sit here on the market. That's not what you hire me for. So I'm going to give you honest feedback. And she was like, well, any feedback is appreciated. I didn't even hear from my other agent.
It's powerful, though. I mean, it's so simple. All they want is they want to know what your plan is, and they want you to communicate with them. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, and do what you say you're going to do. I mean, follow through on what you say you're going to do. I mean, that most of the time we end up taking a lot of listings that haven't sold prior.
There are times, yes.
Yes. That's a big percentage, I think, of the business that we do. And a lot of times it's not this earth-shattering, amazing technique. It's just these little...
Well, it is. It's earth-shattering.
It is?
What we do.
I mean, our marketing plan
We're not talking about our marriage right
amazing.
now. We're talking about real estate.
It's earth-shattering, too.
Okay. But to me, it comes down to like little things, like taking pictures with your cell phone versus having Haley come out and do professional photos.
Right.
Following up with agents to get feedback versus just having the mindset of, well, all the only really feedback that we need is an offer. If we're not getting an offer, then, something's wrong.
Right.
You got to figure this thing out. So what are some typical things? We've touched on price. What are some other typical things you run into that sellers need to address besides price?
The biggest thing is communication. I can't tell you how many appointments I've been on where either just they didn't know what the feedback was, or they didn't even know their property was off the market because their agent didn't call them. Communication is really, really a big deal for sellers. And if you can't stay in touch with them at least once a week, you should stay on that buyer side, because whether it's good news, no news, or bad news, I'm going to call them. And if your listing expires, I'm going to call them and see if I can help because you didn't service it.
And also just being honest with them about what they need to do, whether they need to reduce the price or, do something about the litter box, or if you're thinking about putting your home on the market and you're smoking in it, you need to stop right now. Call Serpro. Rainbow. To get that fixed.
Shout out to Ricky.
But here's what I think happens a lot of times is that most agents are timid. And Zig Ziglar's got a quote, I'm going to butcher this, but he talks about, I think he says, timid salespeople have skinny kids. So if you're not...
That's powerful.
Yeah, if you're not confident enough to go in there and tell them what they need to do, then even if you sell the home, it's going to be a prolonged process. So if you don't give them proper advice on selling the home, staging the home, there's a chance even if you take pictures with your cell phone and you do a lot of things wrong, that you still could sell it. In my opinion, you've lost any referral business. You've lost all credibility with that seller. They're not going to refer you.
That's right.
Even though you're successful in selling it, you've already lost them.
Well, and then the other thing is, if you've done what you said you were going to do, you called them once a week, you've showed them all the marketing that you're doing, you've implemented the reduction plans, and they see it. If it doesn't, sell by that contract period, they're more willing to push it, or extend,
right,
another 6 months or whatever. If they're happy with you, they want you to sell it in general.
Yeah, I think most agents approach this, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to give the agent a reason to not hire them. So they're just a yes person.
Right.
Oh, yes, that sounds good. Yes.
Yes, I'll overprice this by 200% just to get the sign.
Okay, but then you don't get paid. So who wins?
I agree 100%. We win because it's opportunity, because now we get the listing.
Yeah,
right.
It creates a lot. I mean, that's why, I tell people from, the stage or wherever I'm talking, like, just keep on doing that and we'll keep on selling your stuff. We'll keep on succeeding where you're failing. But I really want them to hear this. I really want agents to hear this and go, hey, it doesn't do me any good not to bring up price. That's like the polarizing word. Like, okay, what do you think we should price it at? Oh, well, what do you think? What are you comfortable with? Mm-hmm. What'd you have in mind?
What's your payoff?
Yeah, I mean,
that matters.
But then that shows that you're not the expert. and they're hiring you because you are the expert. You're supposed to guide them on price. And if it's a funky property, give them a range and say, I think your property will, sell between here and here, but because it's very unique, we're going to have to test the market. So let's talk about reductions.
I think that's what sellers need to hear, though, is that they need to be hiring the expert. They don't need to be hiring their sister-in-law or their friend unless they are the expert. Right. Really hire somebody who knows the market, somebody who does it full-time, because, hiring a part-time agent is just a bad move.
You guys both know this from being in the business over a decade, that we're still learning. I mean, there's not one transaction that's totally identical, and we're always coming up with new issues. So a big part of our job is being a problem solver. So if a seller hires a part-time agent or somebody that doesn't have consistent production, their mind is not in problem-solving mode.
Right.
And so they're already losing. But I want sellers watching this to understand that if you invite us in to a listing appointment and you want to hear our marketing plan, part of that is going to be price.
Yes.
We feel that price is a marketing tool. A lot of sellers getting down on the agents, but I feel like a lot of times the consumer pushes us into this corner where we make these mistakes and we put this black cloud over our industry. For instance, a lot of the sellers out there want their agent to pinpoint a price. They want like the exact number. What's it exactly going to sell for? Well, how are you going to do that if the market determines the price? If the market value is defined by what a buyer is willing to pay, how are we going to know that?
I think that comes back to expectations, though. As experts and as, the professional, it's our responsibility to set that expectation of, I cannot pinpoint this price. Instead, they do pinpoint the price, and then we all lose when we do that. So I really feel like if the expectations are set, and I believe that in anything that we do, if the expectation is set properly, then, you can overcome those.
And they'll even say this, well, I'm not going to hold you to it. Just give me a number. I won't hold you to it.
Yeah,
and then
they will.
And then as soon as you throw it out there, that seed's planted, and then you're like, uh-oh, and it's hard to overcome that because you planted that seed.
Right. And they hold you to it.
Yeah, they do. They hold you to it. But they need to understand that pricing, and this is my opinion, pricing is a discovery process. It needs to be a discovery process. If you're looking for an agent to just pinpoint a number, that number could be low, it could be high. We want our sellers to be able to sleep well at night, knowing that we got them the highest price possible.
Right.
And the only way to do that is through a process of discovery.
Right.
But not overpriced.
Yeah, not ridiculous. But if we're talking a little bit, I always have that conversation with sellers. If you want to start a little bit high, that's 7 to 10 days. So what do we know about number of days?
All right, so my rule of thumb is if we've had 10 showings and no offers, it's time to reduce. Or if we've had 30 days and very limited showings, our reflection, it reflects, the price as well. Based on condition, location, and price, those are the three things that you really focus on. So whichever one comes first, 10 showings, no offers, or 30 days, very limited showings.
But price is the number one. Price will overcome condition and location.
Always.
So, there's always going to be somebody who feels like it's a great deal because of what they're not getting. I'm okay with this location because I'm getting it for this price, or I'm okay with having to paint and do carpet because of this price. So, price is so important, but I think presentation is right there after it.
Well, somebody will buy it at the right price.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think sellers need to hear that too. I mean, they need to hear that if they do have an agent who is good at communication, is communicating feedback from every showing, there's a couple factors that consistently come back on that feedback report or that's verbalized, and maybe it's something the seller can't fix. They're like, okay, the master closet's too small.
We can't change the location.
That's price.
Right.
If it was a better price, they might overlook that small master closet or the fact that the shower is small or there's no tub in the master bath, whatever it is, that comes down to price. But a lot of agents would not know to have that conversation or to remind the seller that, yes, you can't, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can't change that, but we're consistently getting that back in the feedback. So the only way we can overcome that is price.
Well, you're in the wrong price point at that point. You got to get to the price point where that doesn't matter to that buyer. They're just thankful to have a home.
You need a whole new buyer pool. And, with something like that, it's not a price reduction of $100. You need a whole new set of buyers. So, that's a 6 to 10% price reduction when you're looking at those things. If you have something priced at $250, taking it to $245 is not a new buyer pool. That's
right.
That's the same people.
Yeah.
I agree. So price is king.
Price
is king or queen.
Yeah, so we got price. Oh, she's so pretty and smart and stuff. All right, so price and condition, and price overcomes condition.
Right.
Yes.
We've got that down. Let's go into a little bit of the marketing plan in terms of the media side of it. So, all of our listings get professional photos, typically. Now, there's some that may not.
Well, like I had one that it actually sold before it ever hit the market, so I just snapped a shot with my phone just for MLS purposes, for comp purposes. But a teammate sold it, so there was no point in spending money when it was already sold. Cash buyer.
What if it's just a dump? I mean, it's a tear down or it's a TLC property. How do you approach that? But it's got a lot of potential. I mean, are we getting Haley in there to do professional photos then, or are we going to?
We are. Everybody gets the same marketing plan.
Well, for example, there was one that was in downtown that needed a lot of work. And yeah, so I had professional photos done. The problem is the photos looked so good that when they got in, they were like, what in the world? Because
right.
they couldn't tell. So, I mean, yes, but I think, if we're talking like you're looking more at land value versus the house, no. But if you're looking at house value, then yes, we're hiring a professional to go in there.
So you might go drone.
Yeah, if it's like a land and it's a tear down house, we would go drone.
Okay. Yeah. So aerial photography, just did a nice marketing piece through Bluefish. So give a shout out to Marcus and the guys at Bluefish, but just, highlighting the benefits of aerial photography and how it showcases the community and the logistics to maybe the house and a community pool, but it also just extends the story. We're telling a story through our photos. We like to take photos of amenities, not just the home, but what's around.
The lifestyle.
It's the lifestyle.
We're definitely selling a lifestyle here on the coast. I think aerial photography is really, really important. What have you seen Matterport do to our business?
There's actually a seller that was in my personal neighborhood that I listed. And the moment that it hit the market, the buyer had already gone out of town. Actually, one of two buyers that brought offers. One had already gone out of town, and they were like, oh, my gosh, we can't get back right now. So I sent their agent the link for Matterport, and so they virtually got to walk through the home before ever actually coming to see it. They went ahead and wrote an offer, but there was multiple offers, and the other offer did win. But they couldn't get back in time, and so at least they could virtually walk through it. They could see what that floor plan looked like. They really couldn't tell the condition because you can zoom in and zoom out, on those things.
I got a few things from that conversation. One, she was able to bring multiple offers to her seller because she allowed somebody to virtually walk through the property. And two, by allowing them to virtually, walk through the property, you did get multiple offers. But
yes.
Had we not had that tool, we would have only gotten one offer, potentially a lower offer.
More than likely.
Right.
The only other thing I would add to that would be the leverage of technology.
Right.
We need leverage is life, and how are we leveraging through people and technology? It's really, really, really important.
Well, you remember back in the day where, like, if an agent didn't have enough photos, the buyer would be like, will you go take more photos for me? You just send on the Matterport link and they can walk through it.
Right. So for those of people listening and watching, so Matterport actually makes a virtual tour virtual. In the past, we've said in our industry it's a virtual tour, but it's really not a virtual tour. It's a glorified slideshow.
Yes.
But this is like you can look at the ceiling, you can look at the floor. I mean, you can walk from room to room at your own pace. So you're literally
walking the property.
It's as close as you can get to a showing without physically being.
Yeah, you walk up the stairs, you walk around the island, you can turn around, walk wherever you want.
Yeah. So you would agree that's been a good tool that we've implemented.
I think it's huge, especially when it goes into the listing side. Not many agents offer it, and we have our own camera, so it's a lot more affordable for us since we've already purchased the camera. But then, for the buyer side, it's very useful. There's so many people who move to our area from up north, and they can't just get down here like that.
Right.
Right.
So another thing that we do is that we blog on our listings, and so we ask sellers to give us information about their home. I look at it this way. They are the best, the most qualified salespeople for their home in terms of product knowledge. We've got to capture that. That's one of the gripes I heard from sellers. The downturn taught me so much, but they would say, we talked to our agent about what we wanted in the public remarks, and they put their interpretation of the selling features. I want to hear what the seller's interpretation of the selling features are, because they live it, they breathe it. But for sellers out there watching and listening, if my first question to you is, out of all the homes you looked at when you were going through the buying process and you selected this one, if you say the reason why is it was a good deal, do you really want to sell your house?
Right, because it's no longer a good deal.
Yeah. So
you want top dollar.
I love one of the things that we do is we involve the seller in the process. We invite them into the marketing process and say, hey, help us sell this home by telling us everything we could possibly want to know, not only about the home, why you bought it, what you love about it, what improvements you've made to it, what's it like in the community.
Right. I tell them the more that they give me, the better the blog will be, which means the better the marketing will be. Yeah.
Really purposeful, beefed up remarks that can really paint a picture for a buyer of what the lifestyle is like. And that it's gotten so segregated now because the buyers and sellers aren't exposed to each other at all really these days. I mean, you used to have that time when you sat down at the closing table across from each other and they'd have a conversation about, oh, you're going to love so-and-so down the street. They're this. We don't have that anymore. So the more we can provide that information up front through the marketing, we can provide that, we can make that connection.
It's sad that it's gotten to that point because, they actually, majority of the time, would love to meet the other party.
Right. And if it's done, it's just done in the lobby of the title company, but...
Yeah, and shake hands. Congratulations. Bye.
Here's how you work the sprinkler system.
I wanted to go back to Matterport just real quick.
Okay.
We're getting really involved in the condo market now. And so for those condo owners who have tenants, that are in and out because they're on the rental program, that Matterport link when the tenant won't let us in is huge. So just wanted to just kind of capture that.
Yeah, so...
That's a good statement.
My dream would be for us to have Matterports for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units at every condo development so that we could showcase those. If a buyer is out of town and they want to go through different, want to view different floor plans and things like that, we have all of those on file. So that would be awesome.
There's times where tenants will slam the door in your face. They won't let you in even though you have approval to get in. So if you had the link to send to them, it might make that sale happen a lot quicker.
Well, investors don't care about what it looks like either. They don't necessarily want to hop on a plane and come down here and shop.
Right.
So if you could show them the condition and the floor plan and the flow, and then they could write an offer and save a couple $1,000s on travel expenses, they would.
Yeah, they're just looking at the numbers. It's all about the numbers for them.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting close on time. So I wanted to make a couple other points and bring the seller back into reality and talk about the fact that how they've painted the house, how they've decorated it may not appeal to the majority of, the buying public. Like, let's say they're from New York or LA, that may be high fashion there, but down here it's like neutral colors.
Right.
We've gotten away from the tan.
Shiplap and neutral colors.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
That sells.
Yeah.
So we had JWRE Ryan come in on one of our earliest episodes and talk about staging, and she talked about the most bang for the buck you can get is a coat of paint. But any other advice you would give a seller out there who's preparing to put their home on the market here in the next 30 days? What do they need to be doing right now to prepare?
Less is more. So declutter big time. No personal photos. Make sure your kitchen countertops are, very clean. Have limited stuff up there. Get baskets for your bathroom when you're done for the day. Put them under the sink. I always had Clorox wipes when we had our personal home on the market. And every day the kids and Ricky and I would run through and wipe down the counters. So where it's clean. Don't leave dishes in the sink. Toilet lids down. There's just so much itty-bitty things that need to be done. But if you prepare ahead of time, it's not that hard to keep up with it. When you're done, you're about to go out the door, wipe it down, grab the baskets, put them under the sink, and go. But less is more. All the stuff off the fridge. We know that you want to put your kids' artwork up there and all their accomplishments and photos, but we can't have it. It's not your home at that point.
Right.
That's probably the biggest thing is for a seller is mindset. Stop looking at it as your home and start looking at it as a commodity you need to sell.
Right.
And, if you're going to take your car up to a dealership to get it appraised, I mean, you get all your stuff out of it.
Right.
You take all your stickers off, and
you shampoo the carpets.
Yeah. It's just funny to me how sellers will take a wait and see approach. Well, let's just see what people say if they bring this up. It's their most expensive asset most of the time, but yet they'll treat trading in their car much more seriously. It blows my mind.
I say to just depersonalizing the asset and viewing it as an asset. And I said this when JWRE was there, that every showing needs to be treated like Oprah's coming. Every single time. No toothpaste in the sink. None of that normal day-to-day stuff needs to happen.
When you're moving, so think of it like a business. You have to start detaching. So depersonalize it, because it was your home, but the goal is to sell it, so it's not going to be your home any longer. You're moving to a new home. So go ahead and start emotionally detaching from that and looking at the numbers and making it a business decision.
One last question. You go into a listing appointment, the carpet is bad, stained, whatever. Whether it's the color or the condition, it needs to be replaced. Let's say there's a couple other things that need to be done, that paint is just off. So right off the bat, it needs fresh paint, it needs new flooring, whether that's carpet or whatever. And the seller says to you, well, shouldn't I just provide an allowance, because I don't know if the paint I pick out and the flooring I pick out is going to match the taste of the new buyer?
If you'll go neutral, it would be your safer route. But here's the problem. If you want to provide an allowance the moment that buyer walks through that door, no matter how much your allowance is, they are still deducting dollars off the price of that home. So it's better to take care of that now and just get ahead of it in the forefront, and to where they see that value in your home and they're no longer deducting those prices. But if your home's not show ready, I mean, they're just taking it off constantly.
Well, what they're taking off is it's the cost of the repair, and then it's the cost of having to live while those repairs are happening.
Cost of the inconvenience.
That's right. And the cost of the inconvenience is expensive. What would be a $300 repair to a seller is $3,000 to a buyer.
Right.
So, and that's a lot of money.
They have no concept of how much it costs.
There's no concept of reality. You can have a plumber come out and fix this one thing, but if you want to just let give the buyer a credit for whatever it is, it's going to cost you triple.
And what I like to remind sellers of is that the buying process is a discovery process as well. And it's a process of elimination. So it's just human nature. If we're trying to take a list of 10 homes and reduce it down to 1 or 2, we're going to look for negatives. Right. That's the process of elimination.
Right.
So the fewer negatives that you have, the better chance that you have to make it into that top 1 or 2 and get that offer.
Well, not only that, if you go ahead and do the repairs, your chances of staying on the market, is going to shorten as far as your days on market. You should go off pretty quickly if you're priced right and it's move-in ready. You don't have those repairs done, you're looking at 4 to 6 months or maybe longer, just because nobody wants to tackle it.
And the seller says, well, you just want to sell it quick so you get paid quick.
Which is true. That's our job. Our job is to sell it quick.
But that's our job. But the quicker I sell it, the more money you make.
And that's just a fact. We out of time, Johnny? All right. Thanks, everybody. Agent251.com, iTunes, Spotify. We put it all over Facebook, but find us, like us, listen to us. Whether you're an agent or a seller or somebody who just needs, some encouragement on how to personally find fulfillment in their life, this is a very broad podcast. Kendall, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming,
That was
Kendall.
a good show.
My pleasure, guys.
And the beautiful Diana Will, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys next time on Agent 251.
Bye, guys.
Well, that wraps up another Agent 251 podcast. Thanks so much for listening. You can find our show on iTunes, any place you get your podcast fix. We really appreciate the listening, and please share it with your friends. This show has been paid for and powered by JWRE, Jason Will Real Estate. You can find Jason, Diana, and the whole JWRE team on the internet and Facebook. And everybody have a great and productive and happy week.